Dear Juelz Santana, there's no way to be financially smart without being able to read, you illiterate.
Recently, Juelz Santana appeared on the No Funnyish Show, which is a podcast that's on the Revolt Network. And the podcast did okay, except for this particular clip.
The ninth grade, they should be just learning how to start businesses
These kids can't read,
and how to. But they don't really need to know how to read.
Wait, stop.
I ain't gonna say that. I say that respectfully. I'm not saying that in a way to be illiterate, because you're not supposed to be illiterate, but you can.
What's more important, reading or math?
Math.
Told you.
Math. I think you could listen to a book on YouTube. You can still obtain the information. You don't have to know how to read.
Now, here, Juelz Santana is saying that, listen, reading is not as important as doing math because, it's more important for, the youth to start businesses and learn how to do business. And if they should have a skill, mathematics is more important. And I thought this was pretty interesting because I understand what he's trying to say. I think what he's trying to say is college or education is not as important because many people are not getting good jobs or making a lot of money. Therefore, if you had to pick a skill, mathematics is the best. And starting a business is better than being an employee because you can make more money. And the black community needs more entrepreneurs and more business people. So that's where the focus should be. And partly, I believe he is correct. But there's an issue.
I'm seeing a lot of conversation about why black men should go to college, why they don't go to college, but no one's talking about the elephant in the room. And that is the fact that a lot of black men cannot read at a college level.
So this lady's an educator, and she says that one of the problems with black men is that there is a reading issue. This lady went to higher levels of education, and she came back and she worked at a community college, right, with these same black men who had troubles reading. And this is what she found out.
Now, if you don't know anything about community college, they were designed for the community, right? They're designed for you to go and get a low-cost education without strapping yourself with debt. So a lot of times they'll tell you, go get your 2 years done and then be gone. You can go to a 4-year or do whatever you want to do. But the reality is, most of these men that I work with personally could not read. So once we got them past developmental courses, they stopped out. Their grades dropped. They lost their financial aid because they could not read.
Now, if you guys know about the community college level, I attended a community college and went on to a 4-year and then ended up going to medical school. It's where you can get your skills developed, especially in math and reading. And then these courses can be transferable. So, you can take as much time as you need to get those skills. But what happened was these black men could not do that. So because these black men could not read, they lost confidence and they dropped out. But people believe that reading and doing math are similar issues. Well, wait.
Achievement Academy at Harbor City is a high school in Northeast Baltimore. According to MCAP data analyzed by Project Baltimore, Achievement Academy has not had a single student test proficient in math in 4 years. Over the last 4 school years, 134 students at the school have taken the state math exams. Not one scored proficient.
So this story is about the Achievement Academy, which is hilarious that they have this name when they haven't achieved anything. But you see what's happening here. It's been 4 years and these students cannot pass the math exam. Juelz Santana believes that math and reading are two different things. The problem is reading is the foundation of all advanced thinking. This includes things like math reasoning, decision making, financial analysis, business planning, writing contracts, critical thinking. Okay? So all of these things happen when you're literate, and none of these things happen when you're illiterate. Okay? So let's look at the pathway. High literacy is high cognitive processing, which is high math and high business skills and high income mobility. When you have low literacy, you get all of the low cognitive processing, you get weak math, you get weak business skills, and you get weak income mobility. So when a student cannot read well, They cannot understand math well. Now, if you're talking about simple math like $5, $20, $30, that's one thing. Yeah, basic math is what he's talking about, so you don't get cheated, but that's how hustlers think. But how many of you have ever been in school and you have an exam and you get a really interesting math problem that is really deep in detail, and you have to be able to understand what the problem is even asking so that you can solve the issue? When you know how to read and you can read well and you're literate, you can decode symbols, you can retain and process information. And this is the most important thing of learning, not just remembering information, but retain and process information. And that information builds on top of things, which improves your logic. It can improve your strategic thinking. It improves your planning, and also improves your problem solving. Okay. This means if you're in math or not, okay, and this doesn't have to be college trained, but this is one of the things that we need to separate from college and what's happening right now in the world. People think that college is worthless and education is worthless, and I understand that, you know, with what's going on right now and AI and all of that. However, that does not mean that literacy is not important, because especially if you're talking about entrepreneurship, you need literacy. Why?
But I just find that the people who read regularly so clearly can hold a conversation and approach things from different angles. Like, you have to be able to see other perspectives. People who don't read just genuinely cannot see other perspectives.
This person says something that's important. People who can't read, she can always tell, because they cannot see other people's perspectives. Right? Remember that. Well,
because y'all like to say black people don't support us. Black people is rude. Black people think just because I'm black, I'm supposed to go give you my black dollar, and then you gonna think that you're gonna talk to me crazy, and because it's your established, baby, this is my money. I can go politely take my money over to Miss Susie's house over there, or Miss Susie's business, and Miss Susie's gonna treat me a lot better, whether I'm black or white or purple or green.
So this lady is complaining about black businesses, and also in the black community, we complain about this a lot. All right. Why is that? Because black businesses don't have the ability to give good customer service. They can't train their employees. You know, they can't manage money. Well, all of these things you're talking about is cognitive skills. But what tends to happen in black businesses are that people who typically have really good literacy and cognitive skills, well, where do they go? They leave the black community. This is not to say that every black person is not cognitive or illiterate. What I am expressing is blacks that typically have higher literacy levels and higher cognitive development levels will go for more opportunities. They're going to be, you know, your black doctors, your black lawyers, people who are doing things on a higher level, big time CEOs, people in corporate America, things like that. So the businesses that are left in the black community that have these complaints you're talking about, they lack that low cognitive processing. They don't understand when a customer is dissatisfied. This is what the lady's talking about, okay? She's saying these businesses are rude. Well, what is she trying to say? She's saying something very similar to what the lady said before. They cannot see the other perspective. So they can't understand the customer is dissatisfied because they are not cognitively developed. When you read, you are seeing somebody else's perspective. This is what happens when you go to college. For example, I was in medical school. I read Moore's Anatomy and Guyton's Physiology. So even if you're reading Shakespeare, you're taking in a story from someone's perspective to, you know, understand what's going on. This is similar to getting a customer or different customers coming into your business, making a buying decision, and keeping those customers happy. This happens when your cognitive ability is developed. You can interpret what people are saying. And not only that, what can you do? The higher your literacy level is, the more you'll be able to see somebody else's experience. This means you have a better ability to network. And we always talk about this in the black community. Why can't we work together? Why is there a hard time with blacks working together? This does not mean that all blacks are not illiterate, and there are other factors in it, right? But at a basic level, if we look at most black communities that are lower middle class or below, they can't add value to each other. They don't know when leverage is gained or leverage is lost because they cannot see the other person's perspective. Then when you lack your cognitive or critical reasoning ability, number one, you can't seek out mentorship because you don't think anything is wrong. And then you don't get mentorship yourself. And this is something that we talk about in Black America. If you cannot read very well, you can also not seek mentorship or you haven't received it. What happens typically is that that person goes out, makes other kids, and their kids also cannot read, okay? You also cannot create competitive businesses or framework that can solve the problems in your community, all right? These are some of the problems that happen when you can't read. So you can't create entrepreneurship. And then when you talk about, let's say, violence in the Black community, well, when you cannot read, you also have weak executive function. You have reduced problem-solving ability. You have limited abstract thinking. You have difficulty grasping, many-step tasks, right? So all of these things lead to failure. And you cannot get that, and this cannot be solved by watching YouTube. Now, on YouTube, you can get like some vocabulary words, you can get pronunciation. So like sometimes on YouTube, I will go and look up a word because I don't know how it's pronounced, so I can better enunciate. So I will use YouTube for that. But it cannot teach staying focused. It can't teach working memory. It can't teach writing. It can't teach abstract reasoning or understanding. Those are the things that YouTube cannot teach. And the reason why somebody like Juelz Santana says that is because he was successful in a business that doesn't require the ability to read very well, which is rap. If you're a rapper, now a streamer, YouTuber, if you happen to be gifted in sports, you can get by, okay? And this is why you see so many young Black youth doing what? Rap, want to be a streamer now, getting into sports, okay? However, you don't see people coming in, filling in the gap, building businesses in Black America because they don't have the skills. And being able to read well helps your ability to be able to do math well, okay? And if you can do both well, you have the opportunity to do very well in life, be an entrepreneur, or at least add value to other people's businesses. When you can't, you become what you see in the Black community. You become a hustler, right? Or you become like a rent seeker. So guys try to come in and try to be like a connection or middleman in the industry. I know this person, I can introduce you to that person, and they try to get some money there, but it's not really adding any serious value, and that's what you see. And so if you can't get money that way, then what do? You turn to the typical stuff we see in the community: drugs, crime, everything else. Education, reading, writing, and comprehension still give you the basis level for everything else. Just because people are getting good jobs and income careers without reading and writing in the traditional fashion, it's still a skills gap there. And that's the problem with his argument. And I understand he's trying to mean well, but yes, a lot of the problems that you see in the Black community come from an intellectual disparity. And we don't want to talk about that, but yes, when we have kids or even adults that struggles in reading, writing, and doing math, you're going to see that those adults are going to have a problem in, number one, leadership or lack thereof, communication, decision-making, and then solving problems. Also, financial intelligence, many different things. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy Oshay Duke Jackson back at another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.